A rare look inside the secret world of the KKK. For those of you who think burning crosses and hooded rallies are relics of the civil rights era, think again.
Beneath the roar of motorcycle engines and the glare of chrome, a hidden story was taking shape, one that would shock America. The rise of the Ku Klux Klan bikers is not just about outlaws on the open road, but about how an infamous hate group found a new way to survive. Discover how old prejudices swapped white robes for leather vests and went underground, rewriting their playbook. This is a tale of reinvention, danger, and the surprising power of transformation. The founder. The story of the Ku Klux Klan bikers begins with a man whose hate ran deeper than any tattoo could show. Dennis Michael McGiffin wasn't born into extremism, but somewhere along the backroads of the American Midwest, he found his way to it. As a young man drifting through life without purpose, the structure and sense of belonging offered by the Ku Klux Klan pulled him in like a rip current. By his mid-30s, McGiffin had climbed the ranks to become a grand dragon in the KKK, commanding respect and fear in equal measure. But as the 1990s approached, McGiffin grew frustrated with what he saw as the old-fashioned, ineffective methods of the traditional Klan. The midnight meetings, the burning crosses, the white robes, all of it seemed like theater to him, not revolution. While older Klan members clung to tradition, McGiffin hungered for action. This hunger led McGiffin to break away from the KKK, taking with him a group of like-minded younger members. Together they formed a new organization called the New Order, inspired by a violent white supremacist group from the 1980s and the fictional race war depicted in The Turner Diaries, a novel that had become a blueprint for white nationalist terrorism. McGiffin's vision wasn't about preserving some imagined past. It was about forcing a violent future. The New Order wasn't interested in parades or public rallies. They stockpiled weapons, studied explosives, and plotted attacks on water supplies, federal buildings, and civil rights organizations. They saw themselves as soldiers in a coming race war, not just advocates for white power. McGiffin believed that through violence and terror, they could trigger the collapse of the government and create a white ethnostate from the ashes. Their plotting came to an abrupt end in February 1998, when coordinated FBI raids hit McGiffin and his associates across several states. Authorities discovered illegal weapons, explosives, and detailed plans for attacks that could have killed thousands. The evidence was overwhelming, and McGiffin was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for weapons charges. Though prosecutors had pushed for terrorism enhancements, prison didn't reform McGiffin, it refined him. Behind bars, he made connections with other white supremacists and studied organizational tactics. Most importantly, he observed how prison gangs and motorcycle club members operated, noting the respect they commanded and the loyalty they inspired. In the prison yard, patches and colors meant more than words, and brotherhood was sealed in blood and ink. McGiffin noticed something else during his time inside: society's complicated relationship with outlaw bikers. While feared, they were also romanticized in American culture. A Klansman in robes raised immediate alarm, but a leather-clad biker could move through society with less scrutiny, despite potentially harboring the same hateful beliefs. When McGiffin was released on parole in 2004, he emerged with a new vision. For years, he quietly rebuilt connections in the white supremacist community, attending motorcycle rallies when permitted and planning his next organization. Finally, in 2010, when his parole ended, Dennis McGiffin was ready to launch his new creation, the Ku Klux Klan Bikers, officially known as the Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club. Unlike traditional motorcycle clubs focused primarily on riding and brotherhood, the Ku Klux Klan Bikers was conceived from the start as a vehicle for white supremacy. McGiffin combined the trappings of outlaw biker culture, the leather vests, the rigid hierarchy, the intimidating imagery, with the racist ideology of his Klan days. The result was something both old and new, a hate group disguised as a motorcycle club. McGiffin carefully crafted the club's image and symbology. Their patches featured coded white supremacist imagery that would be recognizable to those in the know, but might pass as edgy biker aesthetics to outsiders. The club colors of black and silver were chosen not just for their intimidating look, but as a nod to the SS Bolt symbol popular in neo-Nazi circles, while maintaining the traditional Klan color scheme of black and white. Unlike his previous venture that had landed him in prison, this time McGiffin focused on staying just within legal boundaries, at least on paper. The motorcycles weren't just for show, they were central to the new strategy of mobile, visible intimidation that could expand across state lines and into new territories where traditional Klan groups had failed to gain footholds. As the engines of the first official Ku Klux Klan bikers roared to life in 2010, McGiffin had successfully reinvented himself and his cause. Gone was the Klan robe, replaced by leather cuts and motorcycle boots. But beneath the new exterior beat the same hateful heart, now with a more effective vehicle to carry its poison into the mainstream of American life. With this foundation established, McGiffin was ready to build his Klan bikers into a force that would soon rise to prominence in the landscape of American extremism. Their rise to prominence. The Ku Klux Klan bikers didn't roar onto the national scene overnight. Their growth was methodical, deliberate, and surprisingly strategic for an organization built around such a destructive ideology. McGiffin had learned from his previous mistakes. This time, he wouldn't rush into violence that would bring down swift law enforcement attention. Instead, he focused on building a sustainable organization that could spread the Klan's message while maintaining a veneer of legitimacy. In the early days, the Ku Klux Klan bikers established chapters in small, economically depressed towns across the Midwest. These communities, often predominantly white and struggling with job losses and opioid crises, provided fertile recruitment grounds. Local men, feeling left behind by economic changes and hungry for identity and brotherhood, were prime targets for McGiffin's message that blamed their troubles on minorities, immigrants, and a government that supposedly favored everyone but them. The club's recruitment process was carefully structured to gradually reveal its true nature. New prospects would first encounter the Ku Klux Klan bikers at seemingly innocent motorcycle events, charity rides, or local bars. These initial contacts focused on the brotherhood and freedom of the biker lifestyle, with little mention of race or politics. Only after establishing personal connections would members begin introducing white supremacist ideas, typically framed as protecting white heritage or defending against replacement. Classic Klan rhetoric dressed in new language. This gradual radicalization worked effectively. By the time prospects fully understood the group's connection to Klan ideology, they were already emotionally invested in their relationships with members and the identity the club offered them. The process created true believers rather than casual racists, men who would remain dedicated even in the face of public backlash or legal troubles. The Ku Klux Klan bikers crafted a public image that walked a careful line. Their events often included mainstream elements like fundraisers for local children's hospitals or toy drives, creating community goodwill and making it harder for critics to paint them as simply a hate group. Meanwhile, their closed meetings and private gatherings featured much more explicit racism, including study sessions on white nationalist literature and discussions of racial holy war. Concepts pulled directly from traditional Klan ideology. By 2011, the club had established a presence in 5 states, with a core membership of around 200 full-patched riders and many more prospects and supporters. Their visibility increased as they conducted coordinated motorcycle runs through diverse neighborhoods, an intimidation tactic disguised as a normal club activity. Local law enforcement agencies began noting increased reports of racially motivated incidents in areas where the Ku Klux Klan bikers had established chapters. What made the Ku Klux Klan bikers particularly effective was their ability to operate in plain sight. Traditional Klan groups had become easily identifiable and socially isolated, but motorcycle culture's existing association with rebellion and outlaw behavior provided cover for the Ku Klux Klan bikers' extremism. A group of intimidating bikers rolling through town might raise eyebrows, but wouldn't immediately trigger the same response as a Klan rally or cross-burning. The club also developed sophisticated propaganda techniques that went far beyond the crude leaflets of the traditional Klan. They produced recruitment videos that interspersed patriotic imagery with coded racist messaging. Their social media presence carefully avoided explicit hate speech that might get them banned, while still signaling their true beliefs to potential recruits. They mastered the art of the dog whistle, messages that would pass as innocent to the uninformed but carry clear meaning to those familiar with white supremacist ideology. McGiffin himself became something of a celebrity in white nationalist circles. His criminal record, rather than being hidden, was presented as evidence of his dedication to the cause. A political prisoner who had suffered for his beliefs, rather than a convicted felon who had plotted terrorist attacks. This narrative helped attract the more militant elements of the white power movement, who saw in McGiffin a leader willing to take action, not just talk like the old-school Klan leaders they had grown disillusioned with. As the club grew, it began developing specialized subgroups. Some members focused on recruitment, others on security, and others on what they euphemistically called direct action, typically meaning harassment or violence against minorities. This structure allowed the organization to maintain plausible deniability when individual members committed hate crimes. Leaders could claim these were rogue actions while privately encouraging the very behavior they publicly disavowed, a tactic that improved on both traditional Klan and outlaw biker approaches. By 2012, the Ku Klux Klan bikers had gained enough prominence that they began attracting serious attention from larger, more established white supremacist organizations. The group had achieved something remarkable. They had created a new model for extremism that blended seamlessly into American culture, replacing the obvious symbols of the Klan with the romanticized imagery of outlaw bikers, while maintaining the same hateful ideology. One organization in particular took notice: the Aryan Nations. Once among the most powerful neo-Nazi groups in America, the Aryan Nations had fallen on hard times following the death of its founder, Richard Butler, in 2004. Various factions claimed to be the true heirs to Butler's legacy, with a Louisiana-based group led by Morris Gullett emerging as one of the more organized contenders. Gullett saw in the Ku Klux Klan bikers an opportunity to revitalize his struggling organization, and McGiffin saw in the Aryan Nations name a chance to gain additional legitimacy in the white power movement. As summer approached in 2012, representatives from both organizations began meeting to discuss a formal alliance that would reshape the landscape of organized hate in America. The motorcycle engines of the Ku Klux Klan bikers were about to carry them into a new phase of their journey, one that would bring them greater prominence but also plant the seeds of internal conflict that would eventually tear them apart. Sadistic MC joins Aryan Nations MC. The summer of 2012 marked a significant turning point for the Ku Klux Klan bikers. After months of secret meetings and negotiations, McGiffin and Morris Gullett announced a formal merger of their organizations. The new entity would be known as the Aryan Nations Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, combining the historical weight of one of America's most notorious neo-Nazi groups with the modern recruitment model of McGiffin's Klan-inspired biker organization. The announcement came at a private gathering in rural Louisiana, attended by members of both groups. The mood was celebratory, with white power flags and Nazi symbols displayed alongside motorcycle club patches. For many in attendance, this merger represented the future of the white nationalist movement, a blending of the Klan's history, Aryan Nations ideology, and outlaw biker aesthetics that could breathe new life into their struggling cause. On paper, the merger made perfect strategic sense. The Aryan Nations brought historical significance and name recognition in white supremacist circles. Founded in the 1970s by Richard Butler, the organization had once operated a 20-acre compound in Idaho that served as the epicenter of American neo-Nazism until losing it in a 2000 lawsuit. Even in its diminished state, the Aryan Nations name carried weight and legitimacy that McGiffin coveted for his Klan bikers. For Gullett's faction, which had been struggling to establish itself as the true successor to Butler's legacy, the Ku Klux Klan bikers offered fresh blood and a successful recruitment model. The aging Aryan Nations membership needed an influx of younger members, and McGiffin's motorcycle club had proven effective at attracting men in their 20s and 30s, a demographic traditional hate groups like the Klan and Aryan Nations struggled to reach. Following the merger announcement, the newly formed Aryan Nations Sadistic Souls MC embarked on an aggressive expansion campaign. Chapters sprouted up across the South and Midwest, often in areas where neither group had previously maintained a strong presence. Their events became increasingly public, with motorcycle runs serving as recruitment opportunities and displays of strength. The merger brought immediate benefits. Membership numbers swelled as the Aryan Nation's name attracted traditional neo-Nazis, while the motorcycle club structure appealed to those who might have been hesitant to join a more conventional hate group like the traditional Klan. Their propaganda materials circulated widely in extremist forums online, and their public events drew larger crowds. They established connections with white supremacist prison gangs, creating pipelines for recruitment of released inmates looking for community and purpose. Law enforcement agencies across multiple states began dedicating increased resources to monitoring the group. Unlike McGiffen's previous organization that had been caught planning specific terrorist attacks, the Aryan Nation's Sadistic Souls MC was more sophisticated in maintaining distance between leadership and criminal activity. Individual members might commit hate crimes or engage in illegal activities with tacit approval, but without direct orders that could be traced back to organizational leadership. Despite these initial successes, internal tensions quickly emerged within the merged organization. McGiffen and Gullett, both accustomed to absolute authority within their respective groups, frequently clashed over direction and tactics. Their leadership styles could not have been more different. McGiffen favored flashy public displays and media attention, reflecting his Klan background where intimidation was a public spectacle, while Gullett preferred a more secretive approach focused on ideological purity and preparing for what he called the inevitable race war. Cultural differences between the two groups further exacerbated these tensions. The original Ku Klux Klan bikers, with their biker backgrounds, often found the more regimented structure of Aryan Nation stifling. They valued the freedom of the road and the brotherhood of riding together. Meanwhile, many Aryan Nation's members looked down on the bikers as undisciplined and lacking proper ideological grounding, more interested in the trappings of outlaw culture than in serious white nationalism. These tensions began to manifest publicly within months of the merger. At events, observers noted the way members from the two original groups clustered separately, rarely mingling despite supposedly being part of the same organization. Chapter meetings became contentious as arguments broke out over everything from membership requirements to public messaging strategy. By early 2013, the rift between the McGiffen and Gullett factions had grown too wide to ignore. At an event in Alabama, what should have been a display of unity instead revealed an organization on the verge of fracturing. The two leaders barely acknowledged each other, and their respective inner circles remained separated throughout the gathering. The internal power struggle intensified as both men sought to assert control. McGiffen, with his charismatic presence and growing media profile, began to overshadow Gullett in public perception. Meanwhile, Gullett used his deeper connections in the white supremacist movement to undermine McGiffen's authority within the organization, questioning his ideological commitment and spreading rumors about his personal life and Klan background. As 2013 progressed, members were increasingly forced to declare loyalty to either McGiffen or Gullett. Chapter meetings became battlegrounds for competing visions of the organization's future. Some chapters split entirely, with half remaining loyal to the Aryan Nation's tradition and half embracing the motorcycle club culture championed by McGiffen's Klan bikers. What had started with such promise was clearly failing. The merger that was supposed to strengthen both groups was instead tearing them apart. The dream of unified white supremacist power was crumbling under the weight of ego conflicts and organizational differences. As fall turned to winter in 2013, the stage was set for a dramatic and public breakup that would reshape the landscape of hate groups in America once again. The breakup. The end came suddenly, but the signs had been building for months. In late 2013, Morris Gullett published a scathing attack on Dennis McGiffen and the Ku Klux Klan bikers on social media. The carefully crafted facade of unity shattered as Gullett publicly labeled McGiffen and his followers as drunks and race mixers, who made a mockery of everything the Aryan Nation stood for. He attached photos of Sadistic Souls members at parties, middle fingers raised to the camera, behavior he deemed unbecoming of Aryan warriors. McGiffen wasted no time in responding with his own blistering counterattack, questioning Gulet's leadership abilities and his claim to be the legitimate heir to Richard Butler's Aryan nation's throne. The online war of words quickly spread throughout white supremacist social media, with supporters on both sides joining the fray. The Aryan nation's sadistic soul's MC was effectively dead, less than 2 years after its formation. In the aftermath of the public split, both leaders scrambled to control the narrative. Gulet claimed he had expelled the Ku Klux Klan bikers for behavior that violated core Aryan nation's principles, while McGiffin insisted that he had voluntarily withdrawn his club from what he characterized as Gulet's ineffective leadership. Both men portrayed themselves as the defenders of true white nationalist values and painted the other as having betrayed the cause. The reality behind the breakup was more complex than either man admitted publicly. Their partnership had always been a marriage of convenience, rather than a true ideological union. McGiffin's approach to white nationalism, filtered through Klan history and biker culture, emphasized visible intimidation and territorial presence. Gulet's old-school neo-Nazi methodology focused on ideological purity and preparing for a future race war. These fundamentally different approaches created a philosophical divide that proved impossible to bridge. The split had immediate practical consequences for both organizations. Chapters with divided loyalties sometimes fractured, with neither faction retaining enough members to maintain a viable presence. Financial resources became points of contention, with accusations of theft and misappropriation flying in both directions. Some members, disillusioned by the infighting, dropped out of the movement entirely, while others hopped between splinter groups looking for stability. Law enforcement agencies monitored the meltdown with keen interest. The public airing of dirty laundry provided valuable intelligence, and informants reported that the stress of the organizational chaos led to increased substance abuse among members. Some local chapters, lacking clear direction from national leadership, became more erratic and prone to violence, creating additional opportunities for criminal charges and infiltration. For McGiffin, the split represented a significant setback. The Aryan nation's name had given his Ku Klux Klan bikers additional legitimacy in white supremacist circles. Without it, the sadistic souls risked being perceived as just another racist biker gang, rather than a serious ideological force in the white nationalist movement. His personal reputation had also taken a hit, with Gulet's accusations raising questions about his commitment to the cause. In an effort to reassert his relevance, McGiffin began reaching out to other white supremacist organizations. He positioned the Ku Klux Klan bikers as victims of Gulet's betrayal and emphasized their continued dedication to white nationalism. These overtures found receptive audiences among groups that had their own grievances against Gulet's leadership claims or had been skeptical of the merger from the beginning. Meanwhile, Gulet worked to shore up his position as the legitimate heir to the Aryan nation's legacy. He distributed photos allegedly showing McGiffin's family members with non-white individuals, a cardinal sin in their shared ideology. He also circulated court documents suggesting McGiffin's son had fathered a child with a non-white partner, turning McGiffin's family into a weapon against him in the propaganda war between the former allies. McGiffin attempted to dismiss these allegations with technical distinctions that only further damaged his standing. His claim that his son's relationship had been with an Indian, which is no better to me, but my son was 15, and at 16 it was over, satisfied neither his supporters nor his critics. In the black and white racial worldview of white nationalism, any attempt to draw distinctions between different non-white groups was seen as evidence of ideological weakness. By mid-2014, the landscape of white supremacist organizations had been permanently altered by the failed merger and messy divorce. Both groups were weakened, their reputations damaged by the public airing of internal disputes. Yet in this fragmented environment, new opportunities for alliance and reorganization emerged. As summer approached, McGiffin began discussions with leaders of several smaller white nationalist groups who shared his dissatisfaction with the current state of the movement. These conversations would eventually lead to a new coalition, one that promised to unite various factions under a common banner while avoiding the leadership disputes that had doomed the Aryan nation's partnership. The Ku Klux Klan bikers were down, but they weren't out. McGiffin had already proven his ability to reinvent himself and his organization. As he gathered his closest allies for strategy sessions, a new vision began to take shape, a coalition that would become known as the Black and Silver Solution. Black and Silver Solution joins. From the ashes of the failed Aryan Nations merger, the Ku Klux Klan bikers sought a new path forward. Rather than seeking another single organization to join forces with, McGiffin envisioned a coalition where his motorcycle club could maintain its distinct identity. By mid-2014, this vision took form as the Black and Silver Solution, with the Klan bikers serving as its centerpiece. The name Black and Silver Solution cleverly referenced both motorcycle club culture and Klan heritage. Black representing the traditional robes of Klan leadership, silver nodding to decorative elements in Klan regalia, while both colors featured prominently in biker aesthetics. This dual symbolism perfectly captured the Ku Klux Klan bikers' identity as the modern evolution of America's oldest hate group. For the Ku Klux Klan bikers, this coalition offered a chance at redemption after their failed merger with Aryan Nations. It connected their relatively new motorcycle club to the broader historical tradition of white supremacism in America, lending them legitimacy they couldn't achieve alone. McGiffin positioned his Klan bikers as the dynamic, visible face of the coalition, traditional hate wrapped in leather and chrome. The structure allowed the Ku Klux Klan bikers to maintain their distinct motorcycle club culture while coordinating with traditional hate groups on recruitment, propaganda, and public actions. McGiffin's group brought something unique to the table, mobility and visibility that static organizations lacked. While traditional Klan groups operated in shadows, the Klan bikers could rumble through towns, their patches and bikes creating an intimidating presence without the immediate backlash burning crosses would trigger. The first major test came in early 2015 with a coordinated literature distribution campaign. The Ku Klux Klan bikers manufactured thousands of weighted plastic bags containing racist flyers and tossed them onto driveways across 5 states. The operation merged old and new, the traditional Klan tactic of anonymous literature drops, executed by a mobile force of motorcyclists who could cover more ground than conventional members. Local news coverage provided free publicity, while the bikers' mobility allowed quick escapes from any areas where they might face confrontation. Throughout 2015, the Klan bikers expanded their activities under the coalition umbrella. Monthly motorcycle runs became recruitment showcases, with the thundering procession of bikes drawing attention in ways traditional Klan events couldn't. The Ku Klux Klan bikers' distinctive appearance, leather vests adorned with patches containing subtle Klan symbolism alongside traditional biker imagery, made them the most visible representatives of the coalition. These motorcycle events served multiple purposes. They attracted potential members drawn first to the motorcycle culture before being gradually introduced to the group's ideological underpinnings. They intimidated minority communities as the bikes roared through diverse neighborhoods, and they created brotherhood among members, strengthening bonds through shared experiences on the road. The Ku Klux Klan bikers also modernized recruitment approaches. Where the traditional Klan had relied on family connections and local networks, the motorcycle club version established a presence at biker rallies, patriot gatherings, and music events. Their aesthetic, less obviously extremist than white robes, but still coded with white supremacist symbolism, allowed them to operate in spaces where the traditional Klan would be unwelcome. However, as 2015 progressed, tensions emerged between the Ku Klux Klan bikers and other coalition members. McGiffin had made significant adaptations to traditional Klan practices to fit the motorcycle club model. Most controversially, he opened membership to white men of various religious backgrounds, not just the Christian identity adherents that traditional Klan groups demanded. This change helped recruitment, but angered purists within the coalition who saw it as diluting core Klan principles. The Ku Klux Klan bikers' biker culture also created friction with more buttoned-down coalition partners. Traditional white supremacist groups often emphasized discipline and respectability, at least outwardly, while the motorcycle club embraced a more outlaw image with the drinking, partying, and behavior typical of biker culture. Some coalition members worried this behavior undermined their attempts to present white nationalism as a legitimate political movement. By summer 2016, these ideological and cultural divisions were straining the coalition. The very adaptations that had made the Ku Klux Klan bikers successful, their blending of hate group ideology with motorcycle culture, were creating tension with traditional organizations. Once again, the attempt to bridge different extremist cultures was proving difficult, demonstrating that even shared hatred couldn't overcome fundamental differences in approach and lifestyle. The coming months would bring even greater challenges for the Ku Klux Klan bikers as personal scandals involving McGiffin threatened both their position in the coalition and the very foundations of their credibility as a white supremacist organization. Race-mixing allegations. The race-mixing allegations against Dennis McGiffin struck at the very foundation of the Ku Klux Klan bikers. What began as whispers during the Aryan Nation's breakup erupted into a full-blown scandal that threatened everything the motorcycle club stood for. For an organization that had modernized Klan ideology for the biker world while maintaining its core belief in racial separation, this crisis couldn't have been more devastating. At the center of the controversy was McGiffin's son and the mixed-race child he had fathered. For the Ku Klux Klan bikers, this represented the ultimate betrayal of their principles. Since its inception, the original Klan had positioned itself as the defender of white racial purity, and the motorcycle club version had carried this ideology forward into the biker subculture. Now, the very man who led these leather-clad Klansmen faced evidence that his own bloodline had been contaminated, according to the beliefs he preached from atop his motorcycle. The evidence mounted steadily through 2016, spreading through the Klan bikers' networks like wildfire. Former members who had left the club during previous disputes circulated court documents showing child support payments and custody arrangements. Photos of McGiffin's mixed-race grandchild appeared in the private online forums where Klan bikers communicated. Members who had pledged their loyalty to the organization began questioning how their president could claim to ride for white power, while his own son had violated the most fundamental principle of Klan ideology. The scandal created an impossible situation within the ranks of the Ku Klux Klan bikers. Members who had proudly displayed their patches, carefully designed to incorporate subtle Klan symbolism into traditional biker aesthetics, now questioned whether these symbols meant anything at all. If their leader couldn't maintain racial purity within his own family, what separated them from any other racist biker gang? The ideological foundation that distinguished the Ku Klux Klan bikers from ordinary motorcycle clubs was crumbling. McGiffin's attempts to defend himself only exacerbated the damage. When confronted by his officers, his explanation that it was an Indian, which is no better to me, but my son was 15 and at 16 it was over, satisfied no one within the organization. To hardcore members of the Klan biker group, such distinctions between different non-white backgrounds revealed weakness in their racial ideology. His claim that the relationship had been brief was directly contradicted by evidence of ongoing child support payments and visitation arrangements. As the scandal expanded, questions arose about the standards of the entire Ku Klux Klan bikers organization. Traditional Klan groups had always maintained strict membership requirements, not just for members themselves, but extending to their families. The motorcycle club version had seemed to relax these standards under McGiffin's leadership, focusing more on building numbers than maintaining ideological purity. Members began to ask what it truly meant to wear the Klan biker patches if their leadership couldn't enforce the fundamental principles they claimed to represent. Chapter presidents found themselves in difficult positions as they faced questions from their members that they couldn't answer. Some remained loyal to McGiffin, arguing that a man shouldn't be judged by his adult son's actions. Others saw the situation as proof that the organization had strayed too far from traditional Klan values in its effort to modernize. This ideological split created tension at every Klan biker gathering, with members taking sides and sometimes coming close to physical confrontations. The Ku Klux Klan bikers' reputation within the broader white supremacist movement deteriorated rapidly. The motorcycle club had positioned itself as the vanguard of modern Klan activity, bringing the ideology to younger recruits through the attractive veneer of biker culture. Now they were becoming a laughingstock, with other organizations in the black and silver solution questioning whether the Klan bikers deserved a place at the table at all. For a group that had prided itself on bringing new energy to an old cause, This loss of standing was particularly painful. Unlike previous challenges the Ku Klux Klan bikers had faced, leadership disputes, territory conflicts, or tactical disagreements, this controversy struck directly at the heart of their identity. The contradiction between the racial purity they demanded of members and the reality of their leaders' family situation undermined the very reason for the organization's existence. It wasn't just McGiffen's leadership at stake, it was the credibility of the entire concept of modernizing Klan ideology through motorcycle culture. By mid-2016, as the Ku Klux Klan bikers prepared for the Black and Silver Solution Fall Conference in Alabama, the organization stood at a breaking point. Members who had once proudly thundered down highways, their bikes adorned with symbols combining their dual identities as bikers and Klan supporters, now questioned whether their colors still meant anything at all. The marriage of white sheets and leather jackets that McGiffen had engineered was facing its greatest test, and the rumble of discontent was growing louder than their motorcycle engines. Family or club? McGiffen faced the most painful dilemma in his journey, leading the Ku Klux Klan bikers, choosing between blood ties and his ideological tribe. On one side stood his son and mixed-race grandchild, living proof that human connections often transcend even the most deeply held beliefs. On the other stood the Ku Klux Klan bikers, and his position as their leader, the identity and power structure he had spent years building. This wasn't simply about reputation, it cut to the core of who Dennis McGiffen was as head of the Klan Motorcycle Club. Since his early days in the traditional KKK, he had built his entire identity around leading white supremacist organizations. The Ku Klux Klan bikers represented his life's work, his attempt to modernize the Klan's message through motorcycle culture. Walking away would mean admitting his life had been constructed on principles that even he couldn't fully maintain. Initially, McGiffen tried threading an impossible needle. In public settings and Klan biker meetings, he minimized his son's actions and his connection to his grandchild. He characterized it as a youthful mistake, something that happened when his son was a teenager. He claimed that while his son was legally obligated to pay child support, there was no ongoing relationship with either the mother or the child. Yet evidence suggested otherwise. Photos occasionally surfaced showing family gatherings where the grandchild was present. Court documents indicated ongoing visitation arrangements. These contradictions further undermined McGiffen's standing among the Ku Klux Klan bikers. If their leader couldn't fully commit to the racial purity the Klan had always demanded, why should they remain loyal to his motorcycle club version? The crisis forced many Ku Klux Klan bikers to examine their own commitments. Some stood firmly with McGiffen, arguing that a man shouldn't be judged by the actions of his adult children. Others saw his situation as proof that the motorcycle club had strayed too far from the strict racial standards that defined the traditional Klan. The divide reflected deeper questions about what the Ku Klux Klan bikers actually were: a genuine continuation of Klan ideology in biker form, or merely a racist-leaning motorcycle club with watered-down principles. As pressure mounted through summer 2016, McGiffen took increasingly desperate steps to preserve his leadership of the Ku Klux Klan bikers. He publicly disowned his son in posts on white supremacist forums, claiming he had chosen race mixing over family and was no longer welcome at club events. He doubled down on racist rhetoric in speeches to the Klan bikers chapters, perhaps compensating for the contradictions in his personal life with even more extreme positions. These efforts did little to quell the growing dissent within the Ku Klux Klan bikers. Many members saw through the performance, recognizing it as a desperate attempt to save face rather than a genuine recommitment to the principles the Klan had always stood for. Others felt that McGiffen had betrayed his own blood for the sake of his position, making him untrustworthy on a fundamental level. Neither abandoning family for the Klan nor compromising Klan principles for family earned him respect among his motorcycle brethren. By late summer 2016, the Ku Klux Klan bikers were fracturing along these lines. Some chapters remained fiercely loyal to McGiffen, while others began operating with increasing independence. Members began choosing sides, and the once unified Klan Motorcycle Club started to fragment, with some chapters returning to more traditional Klan affiliations and others drifting towards standard outlaw biker culture. Just when it seemed the situation couldn't deteriorate further, McGiffin faced betrayal from within his own family circle. His half-brother, also a member of the Ku Klux Klan bikers, decided to publicly expose everything he knew about McGiffin's family situation, delivering a blow that would prove nearly impossible for the Klan biker leader to recover from. McGiffin brother betrays him. Family betrayal cuts deeper than any other knife, and McGiffin felt the full edge of that blade when his half-brother turned against him and the Ku Klux Klan bikers. In a movement where loyalty to the white supremacist cause was paramount, this fraternal betrayal represented the ultimate violation. This wasn't just another member speaking out. This was someone who knew the Ku Klux Klan bikers' leader's personal life intimately and couldn't be dismissed as an outsider with an agenda. In a devastating social media post that spread like wildfire through the Ku Klux Klan bikers' networks and beyond, McGiffin's half-brother wrote, "The truth hurts, don't it, Denny? You can tell anybody you want the lies, but I'm your brother. I know the whole real truth, don't I? And you don't want everybody else finding out about what's really going on." The cryptic nature of this last line was particularly damaging to the Ku Klux Klan bikers' reputation, suggesting there were even more damaging revelations about their leader waiting to be exposed. The betrayal devastated the Ku Klux Klan bikers on multiple levels. First, it confirmed beyond dispute that their president had been dishonest about the extent of his family's race-mixing situation, a direct contradiction to the core principles the Klan had always stood for. Second, it came from within McGiffin's own bloodline, making it impossible to dismiss as just another attack from enemies of the Klan bikers. And finally, the suggestion that there were more secrets to reveal created a cloud of suspicion that hung over the entire organization. The impact on the Ku Klux Klan bikers was immediate and severe. Members who had been willing to give McGiffin the benefit of the doubt now faced irrefutable evidence from his own brother that their leader had been lying. Chapter presidents who had proudly led their local Klan biker groups found their own credibility damaged among their members. Some began distancing their chapters from national leadership, focusing instead on local activities where McGiffin's shadow didn't reach. McGiffin responded by immediately expelling his half-brother from the Ku Klux Klan bikers, citing disloyalty and violation of club rules about airing internal matters publicly. This move backfired spectacularly, as it appeared to confirm that the president of the Klan bikers was more concerned with punishing those who told the truth than addressing his own contradictions. His brother, now freed from club discipline, became even more vocal, sharing additional details about family gatherings where McGiffin had interacted with his mixed-race grandchild, actions completely counter to the racial separation the Klan had always preached. The timing couldn't have been worse for the Ku Klux Klan bikers, coming just weeks before the scheduled Black and Silver Solution Conference in Scottsboro. Coalition partners were already questioning McGiffin's leadership based on the initial allegations. His brother's confirmation transformed doubt into certainty, making the Klan bikers' position within the coalition completely untenable. Organizations that had been willing to work with the Ku Klux Klan bikers now faced pressure from their own members to cut all ties. What made the betrayal particularly devastating was that it exposed the fundamental hypocrisy at the heart of the Ku Klux Klan bikers. McGiffin had built a motorcycle club around the Klan's ideology of racial hatred while seemingly making exceptions for his own family. This contradiction undermined not just his personal authority, but the entire basis on which the Ku Klux Klan bikers operated. If their founder and president couldn't maintain the racial purity standards the Klan had always demanded, what legitimacy did their organization have? By early fall 2016, the Ku Klux Klan bikers' credibility was in tatters. Even their most loyal members struggled to defend the organization against accusations coming from their leader's own blood. The upcoming Black and Silver Solution Conference, meant to showcase unity and strength, was instead poised to become the site of another organizational collapse for the Klan bikers. Some coalition members announced they would boycott the event entirely, rather than share space with representatives of McGiffin's motorcycle club. The coalition that was meant to unify white supremacist forces was instead being torn apart, setting the stage for the next major setback in the Ku Klux Klan bikers' troubled history. Black and Silver Solution leaves. The fall 2016 conference in Scottsboro, Alabama, became the funeral for the Ku Klux Klan bikers' involvement in the black and silver solution. What should have been a demonstration of unified white supremacist strength instead became a public spectacle of rejection as coalition members turned against McGiffen's Klan biker group. Several organizations boycotted entirely, while others sent representatives specifically to formally cut ties with the Ku Klux Klan bikers. The conference opened with immediate conflict centered around the Klan Motorcycle Club. Representatives from the United Klans of America, a traditional Klan organization, demanded McGiffen and his biker group be removed from all coalition leadership positions before proceedings could continue. When this demand wasn't immediately met, they walked out, followed by members of several smaller organizations. The half-empty meeting hall visually represented the isolation the Ku Klux Klan bikers now faced. Those organizations that remained engaged in heated debates about whether the Klan bikers should remain in the coalition at all. While some argued that they should focus on future action rather than McGiffen's personal matters, others countered that allowing the Ku Klux Klan bikers to remain involved would undermine the coalition's core principles and credibility. The motorcycle club that had once represented a modern evolution of Klan activity was now seen as a liability by its former allies. Throughout the increasingly contentious meeting, McGiffen attempted to defend his Ku Klux Klan bikers, insisting that his personal family situation had no bearing on the club's commitment to white supremacist principles. But his words fell on increasingly deaf ears as organization after organization announced their intention to cut ties with the motorcycle club. The Klan bikers, once seen as an innovative approach to spreading white supremacist ideology, were now being treated as pariahs. By December 2016, most organizations had formally announced they would no longer associate with the Ku Klux Klan bikers. Some former allies immediately announced the formation of new coalitions that specifically excluded McGiffen's motorcycle club. Others retreated to focus on local activities, disillusioned with the idea of cooperation with the Klan bikers after the scandal surrounding their leader. The formal dissolution came in January 2017 when the remaining coalition leadership held a conference call and voted to disband the Black and Silver Solution entirely, largely due to the controversy surrounding the Ku Klux Klan bikers. For McGiffen's Motorcycle Club, this represented another catastrophic failure in their efforts to gain legitimacy within the broader white supremacist movement. The Aryan Nations merger had collapsed due to leadership conflicts, and now the Black and Silver Solution had fallen apart because of McGiffen's personal contradictions. The Ku Klux Klan bikers were severely damaged by their expulsion from the coalition. Membership numbers, which had been bolstered by the perceived legitimacy of the Black and Silver Solution, began to decline sharply. Some entire chapters disbanded as members turned in their patches and left for other organizations or abandoned the movement entirely. Those that remained were the hardest core supporters, loyal to the concept of a motorcycle club version of the Klan, despite the embarrassment of recent events. By spring 2017, the Ku Klux Klan bikers faced a stark reality. The club was a shadow of its former self, isolated from the broader white supremacist movement and losing members rapidly. Their attempt to modernize the Klan through motorcycle culture had momentarily succeeded before collapsing under the weight of their leader's personal contradictions. For many observers, this might have seemed like the end of the experiment in bringing Klan ideology to biker culture. But if the history of both the Klan and outlaw motorcycle clubs proved anything, it was their remarkable ability to adapt and resurface after apparent defeats. Back to the drawing board, faced with the collapse of their position in the Black and Silver Solution and the erosion of their membership, the Ku Klux Klan bikers returned to what they did best: adaptation and reinvention. The motorcycle club underwent a complete restructuring after the mass exodus that followed McGiffen's race-mixing scandal. Despite everything, the Klan bikers weren't starting from zero. A core of intensely loyal members had stuck with the organization through the controversy, believing in either McGiffen or his vision enough to weather the storm. The Ku Klux Klan bikers' approach this time was both a return to basics and a strategic pivot. Rather than seeking to build another coalition or merge with another established group, they focused on rebuilding their motorcycle club from the ground up with a refined identity. The first step was to clarify the club's values and membership requirements, in ways that addressed the contradictions that had been exposed during the recent scandal. The most significant change came in the Ku Klux Klan bikers' stance toward religion. Where the traditional Klan had required adherence to Christian identity or similar ideologies, McGiffin declared that the Klan bikers would welcome white members regardless of religious beliefs. This move away from religious requirements was controversial but strategic, allowing the club to recruit from a wider pool of potential members who might share their racial views without subscribing to specific religious doctrines. The whites-only rule remained firmly in place, maintaining the core principle that had defined the Klan throughout its history. But the Ku Klux Klan bikers implemented more rigorous vetting procedures. New prospects now needed sponsorship from existing members who would vouch for their character and ideological commitment. The path to full membership became longer and more demanding, with multiple levels of initiation designed to test loyalty before receiving full patches. These changes aimed to create a more tightly knit brotherhood that could withstand external pressures and avoid future scandals. Perhaps most significantly, the Ku Klux Klan bikers shifted their focus from national alliances to international expansion. Recognizing that their reputation might be irreparably damaged within American white supremacist circles, they began establishing connections with like-minded groups in Europe and Australia. Some existing members with international backgrounds became ambassadors, traveling to establish new chapters or forge relationships with existing racist biker groups abroad. This international focus proved surprisingly successful for the Klan bikers. In countries where American white supremacist politics were less well known, McGiffin's scandals carried less weight. New chapters formed in Australia, parts of Europe, and even South Africa, often adapting the Ku Klux Klan bikers model to local conditions while maintaining core white supremacist beliefs. The club that had begun as an attempt to modernize the American Klan was transforming into a global network. Technology became a crucial tool in this reinvention. The Ku Klux Klan bikers embraced encrypted communication platforms, creating secure channels for members and sympathizers scattered across continents. While maintaining a minimal public social media presence to avoid platform bans, they developed sophisticated private networks for sharing propaganda, coordinating activities, and recruiting new members. These digital spaces allowed the club to maintain cohesion despite geographic dispersion. Visual identity remained central to the rebuilt Ku Klux Klan bikers. Their patches and insignia continued to incorporate white supremacist imagery alongside subtle references to Klan history. The black and silver color scheme remained, maintaining visual continuity with the club's origins, while adding new elements to symbolize its international reach. These colors connected them to both biker tradition and the historical black robes of Klan leadership. By 2018, the restructured Ku Klux Klan bikers were showing signs of recovery. While their numbers didn't match their peak during the black and silver solution days, their international presence gave them resilience that purely American organizations lacked. When chapters faced legal pressure or membership challenges in one country, others could continue operating relatively unaffected. This decentralization proved to be a strength, making the organization harder to track and disrupt than previous iterations. McGiffin maintained leadership of the Ku Klux Klan bikers, though he became more careful about his public image. He limited his online presence, appeared less frequently at public events, and delegated more authority to trusted chapter presidents. His personal scandals never fully faded, but as time passed and the club gained new members unfamiliar with its troubled history, their impact diminished. Recruitment methods evolved as well. Moving away from the public displays that had characterized earlier years, the Ku Klux Klan bikers adopted more subtle approaches. They targeted individuals already involved in other extremist activities, particularly in the music scene, combat sports, and traditional motorcycle culture. Online recruitment became increasingly sophisticated, with members identifying potential recruits through social media activity and gradually introducing them to more extreme content. Perhaps most importantly, the Ku Klux Klan bikers began focusing more on creating a lifestyle brand than just a motorcycle club. They produced clothing, accessories, and media that could spread their aesthetic and subtle messaging beyond formal membership. This approach allowed sympathizers to signal their alignment with the group's values without the commitment of full membership, creating a broader periphery of support around the core organization. By 2020, the Ku Klux Klan bikers had established a presence on 5 continents, with chapters operating in at least a dozen countries. While membership numbers remained modest compared to traditional motorcycle clubs, their influence extended beyond their size. The model McGiffin had created, combining Klan ideology with outlaw motorcycle culture, had proven remarkably adaptable to different cultural contexts. The story of the Ku Klux Klan bikers represents an alarming evolution in how America's oldest hate group adapts and survives in the modern era. From white robes to motorcycle leathers, from cross burnings to thundering bike runs, from local clavans to international chapters, the methods change, but the underlying hatred remains consistent. Despite repeated failures, personal scandals, and organizational collapses, the Klan found new life on 2 wheels, proving once again that hatred adapts rather than dies when faced with changing times.